guys, this is Mike, and I am here with Ace Von Johnson from LA Guns and Faster Pussycat, and we are here live at the LA Guns show in Little Rock at Vino's. This will probably be posted after the fact, but I just wanted to introduce Ace. He's a huge rock and roll fan. He does some work with animal rescue, stuff like that with pit bulls, and of course he's a huge horror fan just like myself. So Ace, thank you first for doing this, and how are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. Just halfway through this run this week, and everything's good.
How's the show's been so far?
Good. Everything's been really fun. Show's been good. Tour's going well. We're here at Vino's, is kind of a smaller end of the spectrum for us venue-wise. I think the show only got booked about 2 weeks ago.
Right.
It's kind of a last-minute thing.
I was telling her, I was like, just a week or so ago they were playing the Whiskey, and weren't you guys at the Whiskey?
Yeah, we had 2 nights at the Whiskey. Both nights were past capacity, so that we sold both out. I think we're going to do another run.
That's awesome, man.
There at the Whiskey. Next time we'll do 3 shows.
That's one place I've always wanted to go, and hopefully I can get out there and see it. There's such a storied history with that.
Yeah, the Sunset Strip.
So I've been a huge fan of yours since Faster Pussycat. Faster Pussycat is one of my favorite bands, and so is LA Guns. I didn't do a whole lot of research on this because I wanted to ask you, how did the LA Guns gig come to be?
Pretty naturally. I just, the first tour I did with Faster Pussycat about 10 years ago was with Tracy.
Right.
So we just have known each other about 10 years, and I've been on stage with Tracy a few times, been on stage with Phil and his previous incarnation of the band, and when they kind of got the band back together about 2.5 years ago, whatever it was, there were a couple times where they had approached me about maybe coming in. It just, Phil Lewis, the singer, tells people, he says, "Oh, you were our first choice from the get-go," and a lot of it was just scheduling stuff. But it's like any job where it's like, you work with people well, and somebody somewhere, and they go, "Hey, Mike, we like what you do," and they hire you.
I've got a lot of connections in the horror community, so I'm sure you've got a lot of connections in the rock and roll community. So and you're a natural fit. Another thing I was going to ask, is it different, because you play mostly rhythm guitar in LA Guns, but you're a lead guitarist in Faster Pussycat.
Yeah.
Is that a big change for you, or is it just, as a guitar player, does that come naturally, or?
It's pretty easy. I mean, as far as going from one to the other, like if I was taking a gig as a lead guitar player, there's a lot more work that goes into it. With LA Guns, I think we only rehearsed before my first tour, I think maybe twice.
Wow.
So it just, and a lot of the stuff I already knew.
Right.
So it's the difference between, I don't know what an analogy that would be suitable would be, but it's definitely easier. There's an easy gig for me across the board,
And I mean, and going back to Phil and Tracy, it has to be cool to be in a band and play with them.
Oh yeah, they're great. They're fucking great.
I grew up in the 80s, and LA Guns was my second concert.
Oh, right.
And with Dangerous Toys, and I believe Tora Tora. So I was just telling her, it's been 30 years. This year will be 30 years since the first time I saw LA Guns. So that's why I made the 2-hour journey drive down here, because I was not going to miss, especially with Bill and Tracy being on the same stage, and with you. I mean, holy cow, man. The new album, by the way, The Devil You Know. Such an amazing record. If you guys haven't picked it up, go out and pick it up. The problem with Arkansas is we don't have the mom and pop music shops like a lot of places do. So unfortunately for huge fans like me, I have to go on iTunes, which I'm so thankful that that's available. But I also love having, the hard copy of the CD or the album. One of my favorite things that you do it once, sometimes twice a week on your Twitter. You'll post your vinyl selection of
like
the day.
what I pulled out.
One of my favorite things that you do, because every time you pull it out, I'm like, oh, I have that record, I remember that record, And I forgot you had Alice Cooper in there a while back. I'm trying to remember Typo Negative. Oh my goodness.
It took me a while to find that record.
I'm sure, man. I'm still looking. It's hard to find. So the way that you and I kind of got connected was on Twitter through our love of horror.
Yeah.
And of course, I can't interview you without talking a little bit about your love for horror. One of my favorite pictures you had is the replica of the Ouija board with your dog laying.
Oh, it's a carpet.
It's a carpet.
It's a giant rug.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, it's like as big as this table. Somebody sent me that on Amazon a couple years ago, and it was like $30, and I was like, fuck it, so I bought it.
You had to, man.
Yeah.
That is so cool. But to see your dog laying on it, you know,
Yeah, giant dog
I love
planchette.
that. I love that. And that's one of the things, like, before we get into the horror real quick, because I know you're on a time schedule.
That's good.
But what got you into the pit bull and helping rescue? Like, one of the things I admire so much about you is a lot of people on Twitter, especially celebrities, musicians, they don't really take the time to post. They make more of the posts about themselves. You make most of the posts you do trying to save a dog's life. Has that been a passion you've had since you were a kid, or how did that come to be?
I think, without going too far down the rabbit hole on that topic, I think it really stems from when I was a kid, my mom used to drag me along to these, she sort of oversaw I don't know if homeless is the right term, but she oversaw a pantry.
Right.
And it was for people who were homeless or people who were in need or whatever.
Right.
And so she started taking me along to that when I was, I don't know, too young to fight, 14 or whatever. And so I did that all throughout my teenage years. And I think it's still there. It's in San Diego. It's called the North County Interfaith something.
Right. Now you grew up in California.
Yeah,
correct?
I'm an Angelino. I was born in Los Angeles in Panorama City, and then when I was 13, my mom and my stepdad moved me to San Diego.
Right.
So I have a couple friends I still retain from being a teenager in San Diego.
Man. And I respect so much that you picked the pit bull, especially because they get such a bad reputation.
They sure do. They sure do.
It's the way I look at it. They're like people. You can train anyone or any animal to be aggressive, whatever. But if you could see some of these posts, and I hope everybody listening will go and check out these posts, because some of these dogs look so sweet, and when you see that they're scheduled to be euthanized, it's hard. But people like you that keep that out there, it saves a dog's life.
Keeps me up at night a bit. Actually, I just posted something about 10 minutes before I came to meet you.
Right.
This dog that I had been championing in Miami just got posted that it had just been adopted and not rescued, which is the sort of best case scenario.
Is that like a foster home type thing, the rescue?
Well, it was adopted, so which is what ultimately you want. You know, a rescue.
So it's a permanent home.
Yeah,
it's a
foster or rescue or getting pulled in general is great, but what you want is you want them to get a home.
Right.
You want them to get adopted.
Where they're happy and have an owner that shows them the love like you show your dog.
Correct.
And I went blank on your dog's name.
Mila. And she's named after Mila Nurmi, a.k.a. Vampira.
Oh, awesome. That is so
Speaking
cool.
of horror trivia.
That is so cool.
So I think that's where the dog thing kind of started, and then a friend of mine volunteered at a shelter in my early 20s, and I kind of would visit and kind of got I liked it. I wish I had more time to dedicate to doing in-person stuff.
Right.
I think there's a bit of a misconception. I think some people think I actually have my own rescue or something.
Yeah,
and I don't.
You're just an advocate.
I'm just an advocate, and I do as much networking as I can, and through doing what I do and whatever other resources and outlets I've done over the years, I'm able to go. Let's say there was a pit bull in Little Rock that needed to be pulled tomorrow. I could reach out to this rescue group or this group or this advocate and go, who do you know here, and connect the dots.
And that's one of the things I was going to mention too. Like, you don't just focus on the area where you live. I see posts from like Memphis, everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're just trying to save the dogs around you. You are literally trying to network as much as you can.
Yeah, I'd like to do as much as I can with as much power, as much reach as I have.
I think that's awesome, man. I really respect you for that. Now on to the horror subject.
Sure.
We are both, I think it's safe to say from our conversations on Twitter, that we are both huge Romero and Creepshow fans.
Yes, I have a Creepshow tattoo.
Did you send me a picture of the tattoo? Did you pick up the Something to Tide You Over figure set yet?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
No.
I've got an extra one, man. Somehow I'm going to find a way to get that.
I would appreciate
If you have
that.
like a fan club address or
Yeah,
something like
I
that.
have a PO
Yeah,
box.
for sure, man,
give
for
you
sure. Because I know what a Creepshow fan you are. I actually shared a post of the crate.
Yeah, I'm
that
looking
one
forward
looks
to
so
that.
badass. Man.
It looks very cool. The only one I have is the Father's Day.
Father's Day. That one's cool too. I mean, that's my favorite short from that film. I had to wear my Creepshow shirt tonight in honor of you.
Very cool.
But what is your favorite story of the original Creepshow?
Probably the crate. Followed by Father's Day.
That's mine. I do love the goofiness of Jordy.
Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill, yeah.
Oh my goodness. I actually have the book that's a comic of the full Creepshow book that a friend got me for Christmas. It's so awesome. The artwork is great. Are you a Creepshow 2 fan?
I like Creepshow 2.
What did you think about the raft?
The raft's the only really great piece of work.
I like that. I agree. Although I do love the comment from the hitchhiker where he's like, "Thanks for the ride."
Yeah. I like that one. It's funny. We're talking about Creepshow.
Right.
My girlfriend had only seen segments of them.
Right.
So we actually watched part 2 maybe a month ago. Because we were talking about going to the beach, and I mentioned the raft.
The raft, you have
and she hadn't. She was like, "I'm not familiar."
Yeah.
So I made her watch the whole movie, and then for Father's Day, as tradition for me personally, of course, I put on Creepshow, and I said, "We're just going to watch the first segment, and then next thing you know, we're into the crate." And
that was so funny on Father's Day because I was tweeting out a Father's Day tweet from Creepshow, and I was like, Ace is a doggy dad, so I'm tagging him in this because he will appreciate it. Because,
Thank you for that.
I had a little Yorkie for 12 years, and he finally passed away at old age, and that just killed me. But I always considered myself a doggy dad, and she would always buy me like a Father's Day present.
That's cool.
From my dog,
I do a Yorkie rescue every December.
That's cool.
Are you familiar with Adam Green, the director?
The director of Frozen and Hatchet.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Adam's a dear friend of mine.
Oh, that's awesome.
And every year he does a Save the Yorkies 48-hour nonstop podcast where he and Joe Lynch, who's another good friend of mine, I say that just because I was just working on something with him a month ago. I don't think I'm supposed to talk about it or whatever.
I won't say
and that's okay. I think I could say that much.
That's all.
But so the two of them host this 48-hour Save the Yorkies podcast that I think I've done the last 3 years. So speaking of horror movies and Yorkies.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And, we had a dog that we adopted and saved. Actually, the last place you guys played, Bentonville, I have a friend that lives up there, and when he moved, he had a half pit bull, half yellow lab, and he couldn't take it with him in their apartment, so we adopted him.
Oh, that's cool.
And then we just added to our family, and we've got a 5-month-old son now.
Oh, congratulations!
So we've also got a daughter, and so our hands were full. So her mother adopted. She took its name is Flutter. My friend's daughter named it Flutter after one of the My Little Ponies. But I would always call her Flutterbutt because she would bark and so my daughter still calls her Flutterbutt. But she's at a good home and we get to see her all the time.
That's good.
So what? I'll make this quick because I know we're running out of time. But what was the first horror movie that you ever saw that just really grabbed you and was like, man, this is what I love?
I think a lot of people might not know, but the horror movie stuff for me goes back to, it's literally family stuff. My cousin is Mark Lester, who directed Commando, Firestarter, Class of '84. He directed Class of 1999, which I was on set for when I was a little boy, for one of the more sort of horrific scenes.
I almost put that in the other night. I had a mixed DVD of different, and I almost watched it, and she ended up falling asleep, but I'll have to go back and watch that now. Yeah,
that's my cousin. So that, and then my father lived down the street from, when he was a little boy, he lived down the street from William Castle, who directed House on Haunted Hill, The Tingler, and 13 Ghosts, and so on.
That's awesome.
And so when I was a little boy, between my cousin being a movie director and my dad playing me these horror movies that he grew up watching, it just was always something that was around me. It was in my
same here, man.
peripheral.
Yeah, the first one I watched, I was like 4 or 5 years old. I watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I was hooked. And what did you think? Because this is something that goes on in our Facebook group. We have a big debate about Halloween 2018, the movie.
The new one.
Yeah, what were your thoughts? Because it seems like people either really loved it or they nitpicked. I thought as a nostalgia act, it was good. What was your thoughts?
It was nice to see Jamie Lee Curtis be Laurie Strode again.
Right.
But you know what? To be totally honest, I've never been the hugest Halloween fan.
Right.
I love the first two films, and
sure,
actually,
absolutely.
I think I like the third one better. Tom Atkins.
One of my favorites.
Just the concept is really unique.
Yes,
and I would have liked to have seen them do what the original concept was, where each Halloween film was a different.
Do like an anthology.
Yes, tying it into the Creep Show thing, because
absolutely.
that's what I love. Most of my favorite horror movies are anthologies films.
That's cool.
Creep Show, Monster Club, Trilogy of Terror.
Yeah, we talked about
Cat's
that.
Eye. Yeah. So I
Cat's
like stuff
Eye
like that.
is a very underrated movie, and there's some really messed up stuff.
Yeah.
But I think I can't remember the name of the first short in Cat's Eye, but that one in the last
Smokers
one,
Inc.
Yes, so cool, so cool. He's trying to quit smoking.
James Woods.
Yeah, so cool. And as far as like the upcoming or the ones that came out this year, which have you got to go see, like Child's Play?
I haven't seen Child's Play yet, just because I've been on tour, and I'm waiting to take the girlfriend to see it when I get home.
Cool.
I've heard about 90% good things.
I've heard if you go into it not expecting to compare it to, the other, like, Brad Dourif version of
and I'm
Chucky.
a big Brad Dourif fan.
Me too. And his daughter, Fiona,
she's
knocked
great.
it out of the park in those last two Chucky movies.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of Cult of Chucky, just seeing him take over so many.
For me, the last Chucky movie that I loved was 3. That's the one where Andy's an adult and he's in an army. That's the last one that I really enjoyed.
Sure.
But I think, most of these horror franchises have kind of gotten watered down a bit.
They milk it, and one of my friends put it best, like Michael Myers especially, he has a shelf life. He works better in small doses.
Yeah.
And they just announced, officially
another one.
that they're going to do another one. I hope they stop at that because, I think they should have killed off Laurie Strode in this last movie.
I think so.
That's what they built it up to be, like, this is the final showdown.
I think they should have. I think they should have. Just so that they can kind of pull a Harrison Ford Han Solo.
Right.
Okay, you can now retire from your
exactly.
But I think unfortunately, the pop culture thing that we've sort of experienced from, say, the 70s and on, as horror cinema and just pop culture in general, is now we've gotten to a point where it's almost 2020 or whatever you want to call it, and every concept, whether it's horror or a love story or an action film, James Bond, whatever it is, the actors age out, and in 20 years from now, what are you going to want to see? Hugh Jackman as an old Wolverine, although they did kind of
they did that kind of with Logan.
That worked against me there, but you know what I'm saying? The actor can't portray, so eventually you either have to recast, reboot. I like what Star Trek did, where they were like, well, it's a timeline thing, technically it's not a reboot. It's like, okay.
And see, I'm a big Star Trek fan too. And one of the things that Halloween brings to the table is I love the fact that Michael Myers is, they always leave it, is he human, is he supernatural, but the more sequels they make, like you said, the more watered down they're going to become, and then there's nothing to be afraid of.
I will say this. Whether it's Child's Play or Halloween or whatever, or the Friday the 13th remake or the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, all it does is they're sort of testing the waters with how much interest there is in that franchise. And the only other, which is fine with me, because at the end of the day, we still have the original fill-in-the-blank franchise or movie, A, and B, what it's good for is it's just like this band that you're seeing tonight. We're here in a club that maybe holds 200 people, but look around, there's a bunch of families with their kids. So in cool. 10 years from now, those kids are going to be adults, and they're going to go, oh, I saw that band. They go back and get the old albums and stuff like that. It's the same thing with the movies. Some guy may be taking his kid to see Child's Play this weekend, and he'll go, oh, it scared the shit out of me. Well, when he's 10 years from now or whatever,
Yeah.
he may go, oh, well, now I want to start with the original.
Right.
You know, so
and I think
it
that's
renews
great.
interest in that.
It reintroduces it to a new generation. But like you said, those movies will always exist, and they can always go back to the classics.
Yeah, my bass player and I were just watching some Star Wars movies on our day off yesterday or whatever.
Yeah.
The newer ones. One was a prequel, and then one was the episode 7.
Oh, right.
And I was like, I don't really, we were sort of faking our way through watching them.
Right.
But I was like, if I'm going to put on Star Wars, I'm going to put on the original trilogy.
Absolutely.
But for me, I don't really care if they make 100 more sequels because we know that the best one is fucking Return of the Jedi anyhow.
Return of the Jedi.
Or Empire, you know what I mean?
Empire is great, but I always lean more to Return of the Jedi because you've got your happy ending.
Yep.
You get the unmasking of Vader. You get that moment. You've got the silly little Ewoks, which everybody loves to shit on.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite parts.
It was all just catering to keeping it the audience, like 7 to 27.
Just be glad that you watch if you watch episode 7, episode 8, which is The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
I hated that movie.
Yeah.
I don't know why Ryan Johnson was thinking, but he took everything J.J. Abrams
And
did
shit all over it.
Yeah, totally shit all over it.
Well, I'm hoping JJ can bring it back.
If
with
anybody
episode 9.
can, it will be him.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I did like seeing Snoke. I did like seeing him
Snoke was awesome.
get his ass handed to him.
When he got that lightsaber,
that was cool.
that was so cool. That was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
But yeah, for me, it's like the same thing. It's like sure, there's canon and storyline, all that shit. But at the end of the day, I'm just a fan, and if I want to watch what I consider the good ones, I'll put on just the original trilogy.
Absolutely, and and that kind of goes to like your band and Faster Pussycat as well. You guys have done something that not a lot of bands can do, even when there hasn't been that time lapse where Phil and Tracy weren't together, and so it makes it more meaningful now to know that I'm about to go in here and get to see the LA Guns that I love and grew up with. Now they've got you, which is just an extra plus for me, and so it's really super cool. And I'm glad that we have that with bands and movies, because we've always got those classic albums we can go back to.
Of course.
And, we were listening to The Devil on the way down here because she hadn't got to listen to any of it yet. Yeah. And I noticed her even, bobbing her head a little bit. So that was cool, because she, is kind of, she's a rocker, but not an old rocker like I am, I like the classic stuff. And I don't say that as a disrespect. I say it because it is classic music. Yeah. I mean, I still remember the first time I heard Bathroom Wall, from Faster Pussycat.
Well, Pussycat and LA Guns and Whitesnake and Guns N' Roses, all that stuff at this point now is basically classic rock.
Oh, yeah. And, the thing about it is, now as fans we are so lucky because we've got Guns N' Roses on tour. We've got LA Guns on tour. I know Faster Pussycat's getting ready to go back out pretty soon. Yeah. Are you going to be with them?
I will not be doing this tour. No, I picked a sub. So I'm subbing out for this tour. It's just, I have a bunch of other things that I do outside of just being in bands. So doing this gig and doing Pussycat for the last 10 months has been a lot on my plate.
Sure.
And then Pussycat has a 2-month summer tour, and I had to go to Tammy about 3 months ago and be like, dude, I can't just disappear for 2 months anymore.
Yeah, I totally understand. And one more thing that I'll bring up that you and I kind of have in common too is I've been to Rock and Shock many times.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you were actually the head of the music for 1 year that you did that.
For 3 years.
For 3 years, okay.
Yeah, the woman who owns and operates Rock and Shock, her name's Gina.
Right.
Gina is basically kind of my manager. So Gina does a lot of my day-to-day
super
stuff.
Sweet lady.
She's wonderful.
Yeah, very sweet.
And so Gina takes care of a lot of stuff for me and Pussycat, and that's her convention. She's been doing Rock and Shock for 13 or 14 years now.
It'll be 14 years this year.
And so she brought me in about 4 or 5 years ago to put together, we would call it an MD, music director, to MD this sort of jam.
Yeah, you guys kind of had like a all-star band 1 year, didn't you?
Yeah,
because I was going to go and I wasn't able to go.
We've done it the Rocking Dead.
Rocking Dead.
Tongue in cheek.
Right.
It started as a photo op.
Yeah.
So it started as a photographer named Jeremy Saffer, who's a really well-known heavy metal photographer. I mean, name a band.
Yeah.
Like literally from
it.
Slipknot to Megadeth to the Misfits. He's done Danzig, whatever. He's shot everybody. And so he was putting out this lineup of musicians who were either appearing at the festival, because Rock and Chalk is a horror movie, horror con in the afternoon,
and
then a
then
festival
rock and roll at night.
at night.
Yeah.
And so he had certain artists that were performing in the evening that were signing photos in the afternoon.
Well, that's over in the Palladium, right?
Yeah, in Worcester.
Okay.
Yeah.
In Worcester,
and so we said, we've got all these wonderful musicians here. Why aren't we doing something with them?
Right.
So we basically threw together a jam band.
That's cool.
And the
man.
photo op was called The Rocking Dead. So we just said, screw it.
I
We called
remember
the band
seeing
The
that
Rocking
on
Dead.
the
And the lineup changes every year. We did it, I think, 3 or 4 years consecutively.
Yeah. Well, the first year I was there, I got a Choctaw
Mr. Mosley.
tattoo. Yeah,
Very cool.
Mosley's awesome.
Yeah, I love
met
Mosley.
him
He's a
many,
sweetheart.
many times. He's super cool. And then of course I've got Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah,
over here,
I can't remember the
gotta have
actress's
that.
name, the little girl.
Me either, but
Yeah.
she was so creepy in that movie. But well, man, is there anything else you would like to add? What other? How many dates are left on this tour before you guys head home?
I will be home on Sunday, so about
Sundays.
4 more days.
Four more days. I know. Let's see. Your next stop's Kansas, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure your next stop's
I
Kansas.
really don't know till I get there. People are
Bless
like,
your
where are
heart.
you playing tomorrow? I'm like, I don't know where I am today.
I'll know when I get there.
Yeah, we got another couple days, and we have the thing I like about this band is that we do like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 3 weeks on, a month off. So we'll go home for about 2 weeks and then go back out for 10 days, and then take a month off and then go out for 2 weeks.
And when you guys first put out the first tour dates, and I didn't see anything close to me, I was so bummed. Then like a week and a half ago, I'm like, Tracy on Twitter, I saw he posted some new dates. I'm like, Little Rock, no way they're playing Little Rock. So that's why I like messaged you and was like, you guys come to Little Rock? And so it worked out good, and I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah.
And I really want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to do
worries.
this. Everyone's going to enjoy it, and it was a pleasure to meet you, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, brother. Thank you.